Hi and welcome back. My name is Adrian Samaroo. My team is Sold by Samaroo, and today I've put together a ultimate home buyer's guide, whether it's your first home, your second, third, fourth. I wish I kind of knew this stuff when I purchased my first property over a decade ago. There's a lot of things that's useful when purchasing your first home or any property, whether it's an investment property or not. I wish I kind of knew this stuff going into it, but you learn things along the way, and I just want to share it with a lot of my buyers, my clients and my prospects. And usually I just give this info to them, but I figured, you know what, this is useful for anybody who's looking to purchase a property. It's gonna be a lengthy video. If I've included chapters, if you just want to jump to certain parts of the video that might pertain to you and your situation. I've also included a link down below where you can actually download the full guide and you can read it on your own time. If you don't want to watch the video, you feel free to read through it. There's also a couple of resources in there, worksheets to go through to help you start you off with your search and get everything set up. So let's jump right into it. The 7 steps to home buying and making it successful for you today. Step 1 is narrowing your focus. Let's start by asking yourself some simple questions about so that we can narrow down your focus. Where do you want to live? Where are you looking to buy? This should typically be the most important question you ask yourself. Where do you want to consider? What neighborhoods are you looking at? Do you need schools in those areas? Do you need public transportation? What type of facilities would you like? Do you need places of worship nearby? Do you need hospitals? Do you need urgent care all the time? So those things you want to ask yourselves, those type of questions, so that you can start off your focusing on what you need. So once you figure out the neighborhood, then you ask yourself, what type of home do I want? Well, freehold or a condo, whether it's a detached home, semi-detached, a bungalow, raised bungalow. Do you want a condo, townhouse? Do you want a condo apartment? So then you start to figure out what type of options, what type of houses or properties you're interested in, or if you're an investor, what type of properties would you rather invest in, so that if you're looking to rent it out or flip it, what type of property you'd be looking for. And then ask yourself, what are the must-haves or the deal breakers when looking for your home? This is particular items like, do you want a pool? Do you want a fireplace? Do you need a home office to work out of? If you're an investor, likewise, do you want a home office? Are you looking for tenants that are going to be working from home? Maybe young professionals. How many bathrooms do you want? How many bedrooms do you need? Do you need a basement with a separate entrance for a walkout or a side entrance? If you're planning on renting it out separately, do you need a kitchen down there? Do you need spaces to hold a kitchen? Do you have an adequate room upstairs for a separate washer dryer if you want to do that, so that it's not shared? So yeah, you go through a whole list of wants and must-haves to help refine that search. Step 2 is getting pre-approved for a mortgage. When it comes to buying a home, getting pre-approved for a mortgage is one of the most important steps before you even start your search. It's knowing how much you can actually afford. How much is that mortgage, is the bank going to lend you, and how much of a down payment do you have to go towards the home, so you'll know exactly what your budget is. Not only does it help you understand what your budget will be, it also gives you the opportunity to lock in an interest rate. This can save you thousands of dollars in the long run if you're able to lock in a low interest rate when rates are expected to go high. So there are 4 simple steps you can follow when getting pre-approved for a mortgage. So let's reach out to the bank. Let's talk to a mortgage specialist, or if you want to deal with a mortgage broker who has access to several lenders, it might be best to talk to them, where they can shop around and get you the lowest rate. But it's good to actually talk to one of these guys that have the expertise. I do with several mortgage brokers and specialists that have been doing this for a very long time, and they can offer hundreds of different options depending on your situation. Now, once you reach out to either or, the specialist or the broker, they'll have you complete a mortgage application. And by doing so, this will help them understand how much roughly you'll be able to afford, and how much you actually will qualify for, and how much they actually have to propose to the lender in terms of what the lending amount will be for you. So there's many factors that go into determining your eligibility for getting pre-approved for a mortgage. One of the primary factors is your GDS, which is your gross debt service. And also your second is your TDS, your total debt service ratios. These factors help determine how much you can actually afford when considering all your other financial obligations. Next, you'll gather up all your financial information to finalize that pre-approval. Your mortgage broker or specialist will have a list of items that they'll require from you. This will help verify the down payment that you have and other income backup statements such as like pay stubs, maybe T4 slips. So they'll give you a list of items that they'll require in order to put the package together to send it off to the lender. Once you're pre-approved, get a copy of that pre-approval confirming your rate lock. The interest rates tend to fluctuate often. So locking in a low interest rate is ideal. Not only do you have that locked in, but you also know how much you'll get approved for at that rate. If rates were to go up, what the bank does is they honor that low interest rate that they've locked you in for either 90 days or 120 days, depending on the lender. Should the rates actually go the other way, some lenders will actually honor the lower rate. So talk to your lender up front or your mortgage specialist and see what options the lender offers. Most of them do honor the lower rate, but make sure you have a clear idea of what they do. And in addition to getting a pre-approval, this is also great for when you're going to make an offer on a house. Sellers like to see that potential purchasers have actually already been pre-approved by a bank. So they feel the confidence that you'll be able to close the transaction when that time comes. Step 3 is choosing the best agent for you. Most buyers today will work with a real estate professional for many reasons. A great real estate professional can provide you with great market insights along with what's happening in the real estate market, what's happening with banks, with interest rates. So any good professional will be able to give you those insights to help you make an informed decision on whether or not the market is good time to, whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, they'll be able to advise you on that. So here's the top 5 reasons that a buyer may choose a real estate professional to work with. First, it's to save you time, energy, and money. In most cases, commission is paid by the sellers. They will pay their agent along with the buyer's agent. So this will save you a lot of time and energy and also out-of-pocket expenses. The next reason is to ensure that you're getting the best price for that property. Most buyers will want to know if they're getting the best price on that house. On the flip side, most sellers, what they'll do is they tend to overprice or over-evaluate their home. So they always want more money. The more you're going to offer, the more they're going to obviously take. So on the flip side of things, as a good agent will represent their buyer and give them all the facts they need to know about that house and that neighborhood and give them the best possible price that that house is actually worth. This way, you, the buyer, can make an informed decision on what your top line is when going in for that house. If it starts to exceed that, that's when you got to learn to, okay, I'm going to walk away from this. This is getting out of reach and it's not really worth it for that neighborhood. Next reason for working with a real estate professional is to represent you and to protect your interests. In any transaction, a seller's agent represents the seller. So a lot of buyers tend to think that if they go directly to the seller's agent, that they'll get a good deal, when in reality, that doesn't happen because they've already signed a contract with the sellers that they'll represent their best interest and act in their best interest. There's no way that they'll be able to fully act in your interests as well. So a lot of people will say, okay, let me go directly to the seller's agent and the sellers and get a good deal, when in reality they might end up overspending, or there could be stuff that's wrong with the house that hasn't been disclosed to them. So when you do choose a buyer's agent to represent you, you'll get confidential advice that address your needs, which is first and foremost. The agent should also be loyal and diligent and give you a full disclosure with regards to any properties. And they'll provide you with expert advice in market areas, locations, useful clauses to insert into your agreement. This is to protect you in the transaction. Expert negotiation as well, so that they can negotiate the best price and the terms for that particular home. Discovery and disclosure of all information pertaining to that property, whether there's liens on the property, any warranties, any certain disclosures, that might be tied to it. An agent will be able to find out all that info and provide it to you. So again, you can make an informed decision. And like I mentioned before, to negotiate the best possible price and negotiate the best possible terms in whether the buyer needs a home inspection on the property, or if they have to include a financing clause because they haven't gotten that pre-approval yet from the lender. All that will have to be inserted into the offer so that to protect the buyer and their deposit that they'll essentially put down if their agreement is accepted. So as an agent, my job is to inform you of all the information required within the marketplace, as well as with that property itself. I have a situation right now where I have to advise a client on telling them, okay, the sellers are expecting way more than their actual list price. Their expectations is about $60,000 more than what the property is worth. So telling my clients, okay, you know what? It's not really worth that much. It's really only worth $50,000 less than what they're actually expecting. So I advise them it's better that you actually do walk away from this. Because one of the downsides is if they do make a purchase that's say 50 or 60K above market value, when it comes time to an appraisal from a bank, the bank will say, well, why did you spend so much more on the property when it's only worth this X amount? And then essentially what they'll say is that we're only going to fund you for X amount. We're not going to fund you for however much you spent over its value. So now what happens is that the buyer will have to make up that shortfall. So say they put an offer in at $700,000 and the bank says, well, it's only worth $650,000. We're only going to mortgage 80% of that. So now you have to, aside from your down payment, you have to now come up with an extra $50,000. And the final reason is to manage those countless details, making sure those I's are dotted, those T's are crossed, make sure that no balls are dropped, and that everything gets sent off to everyone. Everything is coordinated, whether it be inspections, everything that's met within the condition periods, just making sure that everything goes smoothly from the day the agreement is accepted right down to when it closes. So keeping that in mind, I have put together another guide within the guide. It's the 10-step home buyer success program. So this success program is pretty much what I'm going to offer to my clients and what I do offer to my clients. Number one is expert real estate advice. This is to ensure that objectives are met. Clarity and focus. This is an in-depth buyer meeting with my client to find out more about what they're looking for. This can be done either in person or virtually or a quick phone call. Just to find out exactly what those needs and wants are. Instant access. So once I figure out with my clients exactly what they want and what they need, it's getting them set up with a searches so that they can have all those properties that meet their criteria right at their fingertips. So not only will they get set up with the regular searches that'll give them properties that are listed on the market, but I also provide them with other options as well, whether it be new construction, expired listings, or listings that are coming to the market or taken off the market. I try to give them as many options as possible so that they don't have to rely on one method of finding properties. So once my buyer starts receiving a bunch of their listings of homes in the area that they're looking for, they start to narrow it down to, okay, these are the ones that I really want to go check out in person to see if it reflects what the pictures do and if everything in the description, if it meets all of that and if it's really suitable for me. So what I do is an advanced pre-inspection. So I'll go through the list that they've started to narrow it down to and start going through them more in depth so that they're not wasting any more time and wondering about those properties. So once I've gone through the list and weeded out those properties that really aren't suitable for them, I start narrowing down the search even more to properties we can actually go out and see. So now it's time to book those. I will set up the appointments referred to as showings so that the times are most convenient for both the buyers and the sellers so that we can go in there and see the property in person to see if it actually does reflect the description and if it is actually good for my clients. So now that they've seen the properties, after that we go more in depth, and what I'll do is a comprehensive market evaluations. This is a deeper dive into the actual property and what it's worth. This is the price that it should sell for. So let's start thinking about what type of offer we want to make. Next is the expert negotiation skills. It's talking to the seller's agent, talking to my clients, and figuring out where the common ground might lie in terms of price, closing date, any other clauses we have to insert. It's figuring out really what's going to protect my client at the end of the day. So now that they have an offer that's accepted, it's managing those details and those deadlines. So if there's inspection or any financing clauses that are in there, it's meeting those deadlines to make sure that time doesn't expire, as well as closing dates, buyer visits. It's just managing all that stuff until it's time for closing and closing on the property and moving day. So if you do have an offer accepted, it's also recommending home service providers and to getting that deal finally closed. If my clients have no clue about the home buying process or have access to lawyers or anybody else, and they rely totally on me for everything, not to worry, I have it all. I have movers, I have lawyers I can recommend, I have mortgage specialists, brokers, also home inspectors if I haven't mentioned that already. I have insurance agents, brokers to get you your property insurance as well. And even after you finally moved into your property, it's that ongoing advice and data analysis on your property. So what I like to do is check in with my clients even after they've moved in and let them know, okay, this is the current value of your property, so that they know that they made a good decision and that they have an idea of where the market is at. So that's my 10-step home buyer success program, which is everything this whole guide is about in a nutshell. In case you wanted to just skip to that part, then that'll pretty much give you a high-level overview of this whole guide. Let's jump back into the guide and the steps. Let the search begin for that dream home. Like I mentioned before, the internet can be a useful tool for finding a slew of properties, but it's also not a good representation of exactly what's out there. There are properties that are available on the market but may not be online. So it's finding those properties for my clients as well, so that they have more options available to them. So some of the properties that might not be available to them but are available for me are expired listings or private sales that they might not see in their regular searches. So we try to tap into those so that we can send those off to them as well, so that they get the regular ones that everybody else sees, but now they've got access to these kind of elite properties that may not be accessed by the masses. Key insight and insider's edge. So that's what I'll bring to you as well. The news world and media perpetuate a lot of different ideas about real estate markets. There's always like the good, the bad, and the ugly. So you'll get like, oh, the market's crashing, or the market's booming, or this, or that. It's really deciphering all that and giving my clients the pertinent information that they need. Because the media is talking about a broad spectrum, a certain area that my clients are interested in, that information might not be relevant to it. So it's really weeding all that out and giving them exactly what they need to know about a particular area, because not all news is good news and not all news is bad news. This leads me to step 5, making an informed offer and negotiating on your behalf. So this can be the exciting part, or it could be the most stressful part, is making an offer on the house and waiting for to see if the seller is accepted or they come back to you. So before we draw up the offer, it's deciding on a price, terms, and conditions. One of the things to determine price is a comparative market analysis or comprehensive market analysis, which will give you comparative analysis of homes sold within that area, recently sold, historical data of what they sold for and how long ago they sold, whether it was a month ago or a day ago. This will help determine the value of the home and then essentially come up with a price. So not only is coming up with a fair price also an important step, also determining the terms and conditions of the offer. Some of the items might include what is the closing date, when essentially do you want to close on the property, so that you physically own the keys and the home, the land, whatever it is, that's the closing date. Some of the other conditions that might be included is a home inspection, How old is the home is a factor. So does it require a home inspection? In most cases it does. Is it in an area where you require water tests, soil tests, septic tank inspections? Not to worry though. Any of those terms and conditions, I help determine that with you by presenting other comparables in the area and what I've seen, and we go through that together, and I advise on, okay, well, maybe we should do this, maybe we shouldn't, but ultimately it'll come down to your decision. If you want to go forward with that and include certain conditions, by all means we can put it in there. So once we've determined some of the terms, conditions, and the price, it's time to prepare the offer. So once the offer is prepared, it's time to review the offer. So I'll either sit down with my clients, or we'll do it virtually, or send it off to them by email and kind of point out exactly everything that we discussed, what I've included into the offer, and where to find those things in the offer. And then once they receive it and review it, you can sign it either digitally, which is most common these days, or you can sign it in person, where I present the offer to you in person, go through it with you, and just sign it there. And then once it's all signed on your end, that's when we present the offer to the seller and the seller's agent. Now there's a couple ways that the offer can be presented. I like to go a little bit old school. I push to do it in person, where I can actually give them the offer face to face and pretty much tell them all about my clients, why they're looking for a home, if my clients want me to do that. It all depends, again, with disclosures and how much my clients want me to divulge to the sellers. I will go to them and pretty much sell my client to them. This is extremely important when it's like a multiple offer situation and we're very close on price with all the other competing offers. It's pretty much trying to set your client apart from everybody else. And the other way you can present an offer is very, I don't think personable, but it's the way most of them are done these days, is you just send it off by email to the listing agent, and then they go through however many offers they receive. They sit down with their client and they go through them. On the flip side of things, when I do my seller's guide, I go through how that is handled on the seller side. So once the offer is presented to the sellers, there's one of three outcomes. The easiest one is the seller accepted without any changes. They love it all, and it meets whatever they were looking for. They're happy with it. You're happy with it. Done. Accepted offer. The flip side of that is that the seller does not like the offer and they just reject it outright. This isn't that common. Usually you'll get some sort of feedback and we try to work with each other. A lot of times this can happen though in multiple offer situation, where maybe you are way off with the price in comparison to somebody else that maybe offered a lot more than what it's worth, and the seller just outright rejects. And then finally, the seller countersigns. So this is a situation where you're very close to what the sellers like in terms of price and conditions, and the seller replies to you with maybe a new proposed price, or maybe removing a condition, or maybe moving the closing date. So ultimately, they will sign back the offer to you, and the offer is now in your hands. So you kind of hold the power now, whether you want to accept that offer, or you can always reject it, or you can also sign back again. So you can counter the counter offer. So now that you have an accepted offer, let's go into step 6, removing those conditions and firming up the offer. So what do I mean by firming up the offer? It's pretty much getting any of those terms and conditions, getting them actually completed, so that, and to the buyer's satisfaction. If they deem everything is all good, we call it firming up the offer, where we can move to the next process of it's finally an accepted agreement by both parties. So say you included some conditions, maybe a home inspection, maybe a financing clause. And you said, okay, in X amount of time, I will get the inspection done. I'll get the report. If it's to my satisfaction as the buyer, then we can proceed with the going through with the agreement or the offer. So in order to remove these conditions, say everything is all good, conditions are ready to be removed. Me as the agent, I will do up a fulfillment or a waiver to get those conditions removed or waived from the agreement, saying, yep, we did our part. the buyers are happy with everything, we can proceed with going to the next step. So if you included one of the clauses that you wanted to get a home inspection, here's some home inspection tips that I've put together to try kind of like beware of. If you have your own home inspector, make sure they're a qualified professional and that they have a portfolio of home inspections they've done in the past and that they're well known, because there's no actual license that you need to be a home inspector. So you actually want somebody that knows what they're doing, right? So you can ask your home inspector a couple questions to try to get them verified as well. Or when you go to the home inspection, you can also look out for these things. So some of the things they should be paying attention to is the plumbing, the electrical systems, the roof, insulation, windows, how sealed they are, doors, any foundation issues that's noticeable. Pretty much anything you can see with the naked eye, as well as checking the furnace, checking the AC, checking those appliances for any visible wear and stuff, and making sure that, okay, the taps turn on, the water gets hot, stuff like that. I highly recommend to all my clients that they attend the home inspection. At the end of the day, it's going to be your property, whether you're going to be living in it or either that or you're going to rent it out to maybe a tenant, you're going to become a landlord. You want to know exactly what's going on with that home. You don't want any surprises to pop up that could have been addressed during this stage of the offer process. So yes, be there because the home inspector will point things out that maybe they notice or maybe that are not big issues now, but might have to get rectified in maybe a few years from now. So it's always good to attend the inspection, especially if you're a brand new homeowner, you've never lived in a house before or that type of property before. They'll be able to point out some certain tricks or seasonal maintenance tips they'll be able to provide you with. So it's good to always be present at these things. Now, depending on the size of the home, typically it takes about 3 hours for a home about 2,000 square feet. It could be longer, it could be shorter. Once you give those details to the home inspector, they'll be able to tell you up front, okay, roughly this is how long it's going to take, so cater for that. And at the end of the inspection, what the home inspector should be doing is giving you a detailed report. Usually they email it over to you within about 12 hours. They'll have a full write-up with pictures documenting anything, as well as detailed descriptions, so that if there is any issues that came up, you can address those, or as me, the agent, I can address those with the seller's agent to either get a reduction in price or get the sellers to rectify those problems before closing. So now that we have the firm offer, what we have to do now is just prepare for closing day. So depending on what you put in your offer as your closing date, typical closing dates can vary between 30 days to 90 to 120. It all depends on the type of property, depends on what worked best for both the buyers and the sellers. So a few details that you should take care of before closing: legal stuff and paperwork. So as your representative, I would have sent everything off to your lender, whether it's your mortgage specialist, broker, or bank directly, as well as your lawyer. So they have all the paperwork. So the lawyer will actually probably need stuff from you directly, whether it's your IDs or your the rest of your down payment, any other closing costs. So just make sure you have that stuff a week prior to closing, so that once the lawyer does their final statement of adjustments, that you have those funds readily available, because they might require it either by electronic funds transfer or a draft to be dropped off. So make sure that you have those moving arrangements figured out for closing day, whether you're hiring movers or telling friends to come help you. Just make sure you have that done in advance, so that no surprises. Today, okay, it's closing day, you're ready to move in and you have no help. As well as change of address. So making sure your mail, all your bills, whatever, gets forwarded to your new address. Property insurance is another big thing is that you'll require is your property home insurance. Your actual lawyers will actually require this before closing, so they may ask you for proof of insurance beforehand anyways. So that shouldn't be a big surprise. They'll give you fair warning. I have insurance brokers that I deal with all the time that can help you if you don't have one yourself, but it's fairly easy to do. your insurance broker will probably give you a questionnaire about the property. I work with my clients all the time to help them fill out that questionnaire because there might be some information on there that they don't know about or they can't answer directly. So I'll help them go through it. So be prepared you have to get property insurance. And then getting those utilities hooked up. So you want to do this stuff in advance as well, so that when you move in, everything is working, lights, heat, whatever, that all that is in working order. Usually the lawyers will handle this as well, but I feel it best if my clients were to actually contact the utility companies directly and get all this stuff sorted, because you never know what could happen in case they require some more information that the lawyer doesn't have, and the lawyer forgets to relay that to you. Then you could be in a pickle when you move in. And schools, don't forget to register your children for schools if this applies to you. Getting them transferred from school to school, or if it's their first school, getting them registered so on the first day the school is expecting them. So that does it for my 7 steps of home buying. I hope you guys found this guide very useful. If not, I'm sorry, but I had to do it anyways. I get a lot of prospects that reach out, even sometimes buyers as well, that they say, okay, I want to go see this house. And I ask them, well, what's your budget? And they're like, oh yeah, I can afford it. And then when you start asking some of these questions, they're like, oh, I haven't talked to a mortgage specialist or a broker yet. So then my question to them is, well, how do you know you can afford this? And if they say, yes, I can afford it, unfortunately, they have no idea if they can. So it's usually good to go through a guide like this. I have a bunch of resources in the resource section as well. You'll need to download the guide in order to access those, the resource section, which I think is pretty useful. I send it to all my clients as well, so that they can go through it and they can fill it out at their own time and help them walk through the whole process. Some of the resources include Finding My Dream Home, the questions worksheet, so narrowing down your wants and must-haves. The common costs for buyers, what to expect, closing cost wise. It's a big financial burden when it comes to purchasing a property. There can be a lot of unexpected costs that pop up or that you weren't aware of. One of the big things is property taxes and closing costs and lawyer fees, where a buyer gets blindsided and they're like, well, I didn't know this. So that's one of the things that's in the resource section to help you kind of budget for those things. And then a change of address checklist, going through all those providers that you might have to contact and reach out to let them know that you are moving. And then some tips for packing if you're getting ready to move yourself. Just some tips and tricks there of how to pack and get ready for that move. And there's some new rules that you should know that were implemented a few months ago. It's called TRESA, or the Trust in Real Estate Services Act. Just some information there about representation that I've included in this guide. There is a 13-page guide on that as well. I'll make available for those that are interested. So if you have any comments, questions, feel free to comment in the comment section. Or if you want, my contact info is there. You can always DM me, phone me, text me. I'm always available to answer any of those questions. Okay, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this once again, and stay tuned. I will be doing another video on the seller's guide that I've put together. So take care all.